Showdown. I'm Jason Gilbo, J Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J Clay. Taking a look at pitching on tonight's 8-game slate. Decent size, and you get some really quality arms up top, about 5 or 6 guys you can definitely go with.
Yeah, stacked. I'm excited. I think especially for DraftKings, it kind of gives you a little like stability here in creating lineups. You're not worried about Steven Matz not getting any strikeouts against the Braves. So I think you should feel much better about this slate.
Yeah, definitely. And jumping right into things here, you get the Rays and Orioles. Game 2 of a doubleheader. Jake Odorizzi versus Chris Tillman. Baltimore minus 151 favorites. Over under of 9. For me, I mean, Odorizzi is a guy who I'm staying away from just because of his, away numbers. Also, this Orioles offense isn't really one that I want to target.
Yeah, no thanks. Targeting the Orioles who are projected for 5 runs. But I mean, just in general, that's a tough lineup for him to sort of get through, especially with the lefties sprinkled in there. So, some home run power in that lineup, and I'm probably going to be stacking them, I think.
Yeah, definitely. On the other side, I mean, Chris Tillman's an intriguing GPP option for me. I mean, his price tag's much more expensive than usually what it has been, but 10-9 on DraftKings is doable. I mean, 8-9 on FanDuel is a little bit better to accommodate, but I'm a fan of his. I mean, his swinging strike rate's up this year, 9.9%. His career norm 7.5. And you look at this Rays offense, I mean, they do have a big strikeout rate against righties, 23%.
Right, and they let him run pretty deep into games, so even if he does give up a few runs, it's not like they're just going to pull him. So I think he's going to get quite a bit of run support tonight, and I'm not too worried about the Rays. So I think this is a pretty decent high floor matchup for him, and pretty decent ceiling for a tournament at his price.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 14 strikeouts and 11.2 innings against the Rays this season. Obviously, Camden Yards is a bit disappointing. I mean, the Rays do have some big power at bats. They are a top 10 ISO team against right-handed pitching, so that boomer bust factor is still there for me. But I think Tillman, I mean, a named option on tonight's slate. You just kind of wishing the price tag was a little cheaper on DK.
Right. And yeah, I mean I'd guess there is a home run or two off of him. But again, if he only gives up 2 or 3 earned runs, still gets that win and gets 6 strikeouts, I like that's still a good night for him and hitting value. So
Yeah, definitely, and he has been home run prone, I mean, especially of late. So I think that is the case. I think that six innings, 3 earns, 7 strikeouts, and a win is kind of what you could see from him tonight.
right.
Next one here, you have the Astros and Royals over under of 9. Houston minus 126 favorites. Mike Fiers versus Chris Young. Houston blew up last night. I was kind of hoping that would come tonight against Chris Young, or you kind of expected it to, but for
I
me,
mean,
both these guys would stay away.
it might happen again, but yeah, that was quite the performance. Obviously, Chris Young home run prone. You like the front of that lineup, and you're not touching him. And I'm not really touching Fiers either. These are probably 2 lineups that I'm going to be targeting. Not necessarily stacking the Royals, but sort of like last night, Alcides Escobar, throwing those guys. So definitely not touching Fiers either.
Yeah, I'm definitely not. It's definitely one to stay away from. Next one here, you get the Mets and Braves. Jacob deGrom, Julio Teheran, over under a 7, minus 139 favorites. A rematch of just a game that happened last week. And you got to think things are a little bit reversed now that Teheran's kind of the heavier option who's going to be highly owned, just because this Braves offense hasn't been great. And also deGrom, I mean, he was decent. Still wasn't what we expected last time out, but you got to think he's got to be the contrarian play in this matchup.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the contrarian play. Obviously, Terrain has that sample size now of just dominating the Mets. So, I don't know how contrarian it's going to be. Maybe it evens it out a little bit, but I still think those two are probably going to be pretty evenly owned, especially with Terrain being more expensive now. But overall, I actually think I like Terrain more.
No, I
Hot
definitely
take.
agree. No, I do too. Maybe not as take as you were expecting.
Oh, no, I know it wasn't hot. You can't really have hot takes about guys that are 12K or more on a slate, but um, his strikeout upside's high. He's been pitching amazing this year. So I'd say this regresses a little bit at some point, but not. I'm not afraid of this Mets offense, so I think he could keep it going here.
Yeah, and that price difference on FanDuel of 8,800, that's going to be where you're going to see a really big swerve from DeGrom because DeGrom's 10-4. And
Yeah.
Tehran's been, arguably the better arm this season. And you look at this Mets offense, they're banged up, 24% strikeout rate this year. Um, you look at him, I mean, he's having a really great July, 30 strikeouts in 29 innings, 189 WOBA allowed. So for me, I mean, he's cash playable. A win is certainly iffy for both these guys. You can make that case on both sides, but I think the upside kind of goes to Tehran, even though DeGrom is still a solid option.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this could be a 1-0 game for sure. But overall, I think you go with Tehran here.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think DeGrom is, in play. I don't mind him on DK because he is a little bit cheaper, but I think FanDuel, I don't really see myself paying 10-4 for DeGrom. I'll spin up to Bumgarner or take those cheaper options.
Right.
So next one here, you got the Dodgers and Pirates, Kenta Maeda, Jeff Locke. Dodgers minus 142 favorites, over under of 8. Maeda's an intriguing option for me. I like him on both sites there. I mean, obviously the DK pricing is high for pitchers tonight, but those are certainly guys that you're going to have to need into your lineups. And the Pirates offense banged up, bottom 10 in WOBA over the last 2 weeks. The strikeout rate's been high. So if you look at their season long numbers, I mean, they obviously indicate a top offense, which they can be, but they haven't been performing like that.
No, they definitely haven't. Maeda has that nice little floor. He's provided the last 4 or 5 starts. Obviously has some strikeout upside. I think right now I don't know that the Pirates are a team to target, but they're certainly not very good right now. And they just haven't been very good this year in general. And I think that's a little different. It's sort of like they're not a bad team, so people don't see it that way, but they have been a bad team this year so far. They're going to turn it around at some point, but I do like Maeda and his nice floor today.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I mean, at the moment, they continue to slide in a really nice ballpark in PNC. He's a decent favorite. You look at Jeff Locke, I mean, not really a guy to use tonight. You're looking to take some Dodgers guys against him, and you expect some run support there.
Yeah, definitely. So poor Jeff Locke. No.
Next game here, you get the Red Sox and Rangers. Stephen Wright versus AJ Griffin. Over under of 10. Wright, the knuckleballer, always serviceable. For me on this slate, I think there's other guys. He just kind of ranks, below many of the names we just mentioned, even though he's been really good this year.
Yeah, it's just like you're not targeting, again, on the opposite end of the spectrum. You're not really going after the Rangers just because knuckleballers against like power hitting teams always kind of spook me a little bit. So I am worried about the middle of that lineup. If a few guys get a hold of something, even as good as Wright's been this year, I think he could be in a little bit of trouble, but he has pitched well. I mean, I'm not going to say he's not in play at 10-6, but not someone I'm necessarily plugging in cash or even a tournament. Just sort of like a deeper tournament play, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, he has been really good this year, and the consistency really has been there. And you look at this Rangers offense, I mean, it is heavily left-handed. And, obviously knuckleballing tougher to hit for lefties. So that could be something tonight. And, I mean, obviously Vegas expects a decent run total showing from Texas, 4.5 projected. So they're on, is one of the higher offenses. But Griffin could be a pivot, or sorry, not Griffin, Wright could be a pivot. My only always issue with him is just I want him cheaper.
I know, but he is on DK the cheapest he's been in over a month.
Yeah.
So it's still not cheap. you'd much rather have him in that not like around 9K. Then it'd be like, oh, okay, all right, I can do this. But yeah, at his current price, it's kind of like, all right, deep tournament play, nothing really else, even with the low ownership percentage.
Yeah, I think so. And on DK, I mean, he is that cutoff point before you really drop down to the bad pitchers of the night. So he is the
Mhm.
cheapest of those top options.
Right, right.
And Griffin on the other side, yes, he's been good in the games he started this season, but I'm not really expecting him to go through and chug through a
Ugh.
Red Sox offense.
And yeah, I mean they had their little lull in their season, and I think they're about to pick it up again. So you can only hold this offense down for so long before they score 10 runs, 3 straight games, or something absolutely stupid. So I think this is another night where you can really target the Red Sox if you want.
Yeah, definitely. And next one here, you got the Phillies and Giants, Jeremy Hellickson versus Madison Bumgarner. San Francisco minus 290 favorites, over under 6.5. Bumgarner is the clear cut number one option on tonight's slate. He's 14K, expensive, very priced up. FanDuel 12,000. He's easily your cash game guy on FanDuel tonight, without a
Um,
doubt.
no, I totally disagree. Um, imagine if like just someone was totally against Baumgartner tonight. No, yeah. Clear cash option. I mean, on FanDuel, I don't really know how you can fade him, really. Um, in cash at least, but for DK, it's uh, in tournaments. I mean, if it were a bigger slate, maybe, but I don't know that I see the quality options below him that make me want to fade him, even in tournaments.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I guess the way you play that one on DK is you just pay down. If you really want to pay down, maybe pay down at like your second pitcher or something,
yeah, I think
because
so.
I don't see it. I don't see any of those guys in that mid to high tier sort of reaching his ceiling.
No, I mean, I'm looking at Bumgarner. I mean, arguably, I mean, 30 to 35, I mean, possibly even higher is something that you're looking at with him tonight. And, at home against the Phillies offense that strikes out quite a bit against lefties, 23.4%. And you're just looking at Bumgarner. I mean, he's been flat out dominant over the last 2 months. And yeah, the price tag's high. Um, it is tough because there isn't really an SP2 that you can feel comfortable pairing with that leaves you a little room for bats. That's my only issue.
Right. So I guess let's say you're making 15 tournament lineups. How many have Bumgarner in it?
Four or
Like
five.
4 or 5?
Tournament, yeah. I'll fade him in tournaments.
Oh wow. Okay. That's
I just
bold.
think, I mean, you're gonna have to get some room for hitters in there because I mean, Bumgarner, I just see myself in tournaments taking a cheap option and hoping that he gets 15. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
And hoping Bumgarner doesn't go absolute ceiling on the Phillies then.
No, I definitely do. I mean, if he's in my lineup, I want him to go off, but I don't expect him to be crazy owned in tournaments tonight at that price tag on DraftKings.
Huh. Okay. I kind of I guess we kind of differ there. I feel like he's going to be at least 30%. But other than that, I mean, yeah, if you want to fade that, sure, but I'd say it's going to be tough to get anyone in that 30-point range today other than him.
Well, I mean, I do think Tehran's got that upside. I mean, he's coming off a 42-point outing against the Mets. He's a guy who can do that for me. But I agree. I mean, outside of that, 30 points is kind of not doable from some of these guys. I mean, you could maybe see a Tillman if he has everything working to do that, even a Maeda as well.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I mean, it is a tough call, but I'm with you. I think the majority of those guys don't have that 30-point upside like Bumgarner does.
Right.
So on the other side, Jeremy Hellickson, 5,700. For me, okay, hear me out here.
Okay. All
I,
right. We need a guy like this tonight. So I'm listening.
I've done this in the past with Kershaw. or I've taken the opposing pitcher of, basically Kershaw, who's 13.5, 14K, at all times here on DraftKings.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm specifically talking DraftKings. Helton,
Yeah.
by
You're
no
not gonna be
means,
you're not gonna be playing Hellickson on FanDuel.
but just to state the obvious,
Yeah.
I'm looking at him. I mean, Helton's been generally around 15 DK points, and at 5,700, that's an option that I don't mind
Hmm.
because it's a spacious ballpark. You got some guys banged up, Duffy on the DL. Overall, I mean, a lineup that hasn't been relatively great. They've been more so kind of average plus this season. So I think you can kind of look at Helix as maybe a disposable quality arm type guy, not going to really get you the win, but if he does get you a start, kind of like his Arizona start, where he got 7 innings, 3 earned, 6 Ks, no win, that's 18 points from a guy who's 15,700.
I like that call.
It's risky, but
Yeah, it's risky, but when you look at the Giants, there's a lot of lefties in that lineup. And Hellickson is already beat up on the Nationals this year. I mean, that's a strong lefty lineup. So, I mean, he's had a few good starts this year. He's had 6 or more strikeouts in quite a few. So, I mean, if he only gives up a run or two, doesn't get the win, but sort of goes six or so innings. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely with you. He's gonna way overachieve, sort of at that price. So yeah, I'm with you.
yeah, I mean, you're just really looking for a quality start, and so I'm looking below Stephen Wright here, and I'm looking at the blow up potential for those guys, and for me, he kind of has the least amount of blow up factor.
Now, would you be playing him with Bumgarner or sort of a leverage play against him when you're playing other guys in tournaments?
No, with Bumgarner.
With
I
Bumgarner?
only
Okay.
play him with Bumgarner. Yeah, that's the only
Okay.
way I'd play him. And it's weird taking two pitchers against each other, but it's actually a strategy that can work out on these types of slates when guys are over
Hmm.
14K.
Right. And I mean, Hellickson, what do you imagine his ownership is? Because he's going against Bumgarner, like
Super low,
three to
super low.
3 to 5%,
Yeah,
probably
it's
something like
definitely going to
that.
be in that range.
So yeah, I like that play.
Yeah. Moved on to the next game here. You got the A's and Angels.
Hmm.
This one, I mean, Chacin going up against an A's offense that's quietly been pretty good lately. Still not a great offense, and also Dylan Overton making his start here. Um, he's been solid in AAA this season, but overall, I mean, 4,400. You look at this Angels offense. I mean, yes, they've been bad. I don't usually take lefties against them though, because there are some quality right-handed bats there.
Yeah, that's a tough one that I think you just sit out for this matchup. If it was like again, if it was like the Phillies or something, or even a slightly worse offense, I'd probably be in for just a pure punt, just because it opens up that those 4K min pitchers. We saw it yesterday. Just opens up so much. It's just a totally different ball game once you throw one of those in there. But I'm not really touching Overton or Chacin tonight.
No, I'm not either. Over under 9. We saw this game be pretty problematic for hitters or for pitchers last night. I think that's going to be kind of a similar situation.
Hmm.
Cardinals and Mariners here. Over under of 8. Seattle minus 122 favorite. Uh, Mike Leake, Nate Carnes. I mean, I was hoping these guys would be in different matchups. You do not usually take guys against the Cardinals.
I would like to bottle that sound you made right before you said the matchup. You went I'm like that's the emotion of this matchup because I'm kind of looking at Nate Carnes here as a tournament guy. Even though I don't like playing pitchers against the Cardinals lineup normally, but on this slate, like weirder things have happened. I could see one of these guys doing well tonight. Just based on the matchup here, but Leaks obviously got the tougher matchup. I might go Carnes as a deep tournament play. I do think he has some upside tonight.
Okay, yeah. So I'm on a similar page. I mean, League is off the table for me. I don't like taking guys.
Yeah, the lefties in that lineup are just too much to really trust him.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Carnes has a lower floor, but Carnes has actually shown an ability. He's pitched better at home, 3.41 ERA compared to the over 5 on the road.
Hmm.
7,100, I mean, out of the cheap options, I'm with you. I think him and Elkson are kind of my favorite. And by my favorite, I mean just solely out of that group.
Yeah.
But I do think he's a playable cheap value option. Once again, I think you are kind of hoping for that 15-point floor and hoping he kind of pulls out a win. I don't think a lot of upsides there, but he has shown. I mean, he beat Baltimore for 21 DK points, Houston for 25 on the road there. So he has done it against some teams with some pop. And the Cardinals' offense is beatable. They are good, but they are
Yes.
beatable.
And they've actually been shut down quite a few times this year by like not even aces or anything. So for him to get 20 DK points or like 25 to 30 FanDuel points, I think that's in play. Obviously not his base projection or anything like that, but I do think in his range outcomes he does have that possibility. And I mean, he does get 5 to 6 strikeouts a game pretty consistently. So I do think that is a reasonably high floor. And I believe what you're really telling the viewers and listeners and subscribers to the site that you want them to throw Carnes and Hellickson in cash. Is that correct?
God, no. Oh,
and
man.
and uh and stack the Phillies.
Yeah, that's probably the most contrarian move you could possibly make tonight. And you would have 40 grand left over in salary. Man, yeah. No, definitely don't do that. Let's just
No, clearly yes. No, don't do that. But
yeah. Clearly Russell's
yeah,
a jokester.
Carnes is a deep tournament play, especially if you want to open something up. And maybe that's a guy you could team with Bumgarner as well if you don't feel like going with Hellickson. But
Mhm.
that's really what you're looking at in terms of value, guys. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think DraftKings with that SP2 spot, you do have to look at some guys maybe that you don't feel comfortable with. Obviously, guys like Carnes and Hellickson really aren't really in play for me on FanDuel because you
Right.
got Maeda at 8.6, you got Taylor Hand at 8.8, Tillman at 8.9. Those are actually the reasonable values
Mm-hmm.
on the slate there.
Let's swerve back 1 second. I know we said he wasn't in play. Jake Odorizzi, what are like out of 10 times, like how many times does he have a decent start against the Orioles in this matchup? Like two out of 10,
No, I mean I'll give him a 4 or 5. It's
4 or 5.
It's possible. I mean, the strikeout rate really has been up for him. I mean, you look over the last 3 games, it's been pretty solid. And really, I mean, you go back to the beginning of, or, end of May, he has been 6+ strikeouts, 8+ in the last three.
Mhm.
So, you do look at this Baltimore team that does strike out a ton against right-handed pitching, but still in that ballpark. I mean,
I know
Odorizzi is just
the
too.
home run thing really puts a damper on him and sort of the upside of that Orioles offense. But I do think he's a deep tournament play. I'll give him that.
I'm going to leave that to your name, sir.
All right, cool.
That's going to wrap things up here with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.